would like to welcome you on an open panel discussion called Echoes of Dance Criticism in Regional Media. My name is Josef Bartoš and I am editor-in-chief of the Czech Dance magazine called Taneční aktuality, or in English, Czech Dance News. And this event is possible thanks to the Ministry of Culture of the Czech Republic and the European Union and its National Recovery Fund. And we are very grateful for being able to host such an event. So simply thank you. It's not very common that we can meet internationally. And before we start, I would like to motivate everyone here that if you have anything to add up on the themes we are going to discuss, please feel free to do so. And it's not only us who need to talk entire 2 hours, but it's also upon you, so please feel free to do so. But, oh, and one more thing before we start. I would like to also motivate you to stay until the very end, because at the very end we will have a launch of our special edition 2023, which is our published publication, or it's not very clever, but yeah, that's our published magazine, which deals with the topic of dance and words. And also you will be able to see former editions of our special edition should be right there, and we are very proud of this publication, so feel free to stay. And now let's get back to the discussion, and I would like to briefly introduce everyone who is here. So first, on the left, we have Sanjoy Roy, dance critic for British newspaper The Guardian, and also editor-in-chief of Springback magazine, organized by an international dance network called Airwaves. Welcome, Sanjoy. Then we have Nina Hümpel, founder and editor-in-chief of a German dance magazine called tanznet.de. Welcome, Nina. Then we have Jonathan Gray, former editor-in-chief of the longest-running magazine called Dancing Times, which was founded in 1910 and ran until 2022. Yeah. Welcome. So this was our English-speaking section, and now let's go to our Czech-speaking section. We have Aleš Honos, editor-in-chief of a culture online magazine called Ostravan, which is dedicated to culture scene of Moravian and Silesian region, and also who is working for a newspaper, for a Czech newspaper called Právo. Then we have Lucie Křížková, a culture publicist who was working at the Ostrava division of Czech Television. Welcome. And the last person who is going to debate today is Ivana Šuláková, editor of the Ostrava division of the national broadcasting station Czech Radio. So welcome. And also I would like to welcome our 2 translators who will help us with English issues if we have any. So thank you for being here also. Right now, I would like to get back to the topic. Our main topic is the media coverage of dance in regional media. I would like to focus mainly on the possibilities we have. Let's see it as a discussion where we can find new ways or rediscover the old ones. How to make dance more available, not only in regional media, but maybe also the other way around. Regional dance and in whole state media, or I don't know, in national media. National media. Thank you. It's not an easy task, I know, because our profession has many difficulties, which we discussed last 2 days. But still, let's give it a try, okay? So, first topic, big cultural centers and regions. This will be mostly headed to our English speakers. I would like to ask each of you, what is the situation in the country you are working at regarding the coverage of dance in regional media? If you could please speak on that topic. So maybe you can ask Nina first.
Thank you. The situation is quite complicated. That's why we're all sitting here, I think. The coverage of dance in media in Germany is shrinking, is getting less and less. And also the quality of the dance coverage and dance journalism is changing. Of course, we have all the media, if we have a scandal, like the Marco Böke shitstorm, everybody knows, even people here are laughing because this thing went worldwide. Also, if we have scandals in...
Sorry, maybe if you could describe a little bit this action, because I think that there were some people not laughing, so I suppose they would not get your inner joke.
Marco Böke is a very famous German choreographer. He choreographs for state theaters, but in a contemporary way. And he had a premiere in the Netherlands Dance Theater. And that's the most important thing of the story. The only dance review he received was from a dance critic from the Frankfurter Allgemeine Zeitung, which is a very well-known newspaper, and it was not only extremely negative, it was really hurting and beleidigend, what is the word? Belittling, right. And he went to the, this critic wanted to come to the next premiere he had in Germany like a week later, and she came again, and he did not understand why she came again after thinking that he's the worst choreographer ever. And something very bad happened. He met her in the foyer and he put the shit of his dog into her face. So this scandal, which was really, really a bad thing, really went through the media worldwide. And of course, it's very, very sad that a thing like this brings dance into the media and not beautiful artists or other things. But the main, it's very much connected to the topic that we are discussing, that there was only one review. Because after that, the Netherlands Dance Theater was streaming the performance. So that also the journalists that are normally not paid to travel to the Netherlands to cover the hotel and come back could see it, and people were enthusiastic. I heard that it was a masterpiece, those who saw it, and they were very, very happy. So that was a bit the problem of the thing that we are having, that there is so little dance journalism and dance critique, that this one review is so important that it can destroy a career of an artist. So, and also, of course, scandals in ballet schools, like we have with abuse or misbehavior towards these very, very young students. These are the topics that come to the media, but not interesting artists' performances, or less and less. It's more the big news about ballet directors changing or institutions failing or getting support on it. So that's what the media are interested in, but not the artists themselves. So that's a bit the problem why we founded Tanznetz, which is only an online magazine 27 years ago, because the coverage in the newspapers, in the weekly magazines, in TV and broadcasting was not as it was 30 or 40 years ago. The times really changed. So that's the situation in Germany.
Yeah, Sanjoy, please.
Yeah.
Yeah. May I just ask you?
Yeah.
As I understand it, Germany itself is structured in a very regional way.
Yeah.
both in terms of its administration? Is it the same with its media?
Well, I think the internet changed a lot because you can reach regional media also through the internet. But yes, every city has its own theater, its own ballet company, and freelancing dance companies, and we have newspapers in the cities. Yes.
I want to ask. We already mentioned that you established a platform called Tanznetz.de, and you're based in Munich. Mm-hmm. So, what is the coverage of other regions of Germany in your magazine?
That's something we are very proud of, because the coverage is really German-speaking countries, and we do not only have ballet, we also have contemporary dance, or more contemporary dance than ballet, and dance theater. We have cultural education, we have productions, site-specific productions, and we're not only covering the big cities, we really have the small cities like Augsburg, Ingolstadt, Schwerin, where dance happens, and we try to get the authors there and write about dance also in the periphery. That's a special thing about Tanznetz.
Is it easy? Because we are always struggling with finding authors in region in Czech Republic, as many of you know. Teresa, for example, who is our author from this region, and it's been really a real struggle for us. So how is it in your case?
It's the same. It's really difficult, because we didn't talk about that. Tanznetz is not founded by the government, and it's not paid by its readers. So we have very little income, only by advertisement, and we are very proud that we can cover by that the editing team of 6 persons and also a little bit of layout and graphics, but we cannot pay the authors. So and then especially trips and travel costs are becoming a big problem. But we still have authors that go to the little cities. But it's difficult, and I think at this point, with the big audience we have and the big coverage we have, we also need support, from wherever it comes.
Of course. Yeah. I must admit that I was very surprised during the last 2 days. Nina was talking a lot about community, about a magazine as a community of writers, which changes entire shift on the criticism or on journalism in general. So maybe that is why also the authors are willing to write even without paying them.
I think it's 2 reasons. The one thing is that Tanznetz has become a stepping stone for most of our authors. They became professors, they became dramaturgs, curators for festivals, they work in the field of cultural education, dance in schools and things like that. I think almost all of our authors could use Tanznetz for their own professional field, but unfortunately not in the journalist field, because the media coverage has become very bad. So Tanznetz, the profit that authors are taking out of Tanznetz is their career in the dance field, but also the communication aspect. That we are exchanging regularly information, job opportunities, Fortbildung, education, development of their own skills. So that's the 2 aspects of Tanznetz, and has made, I think, Tanznetz maybe the biggest dance platform in Europe. But times have changed, and I have to say that this is a quite serious situation. In former times, when we started Tanznetz, there still was money for dance journalists. So they took Tanznetz and their reputation to get jobs in other media. But now the situation has become so difficult that also other media don't have money for dance journalism, or less and less money. No money is not true, but I would say that in Germany there's only 1 or 2 dance journalists that make their complete living by that job. Only 1 or 2.
I mean, it's still better than here. Here is literally no one who's living just from writing. It's simply not possible here. But you also touched the history of your magazine. I would like to know if the regional coverage, if it was all the time, like since its inception in 1996, if I'm not mistaken, until now, if it's been the same.
No, because we started with a small group of 5 people who studied together at university. One of them is a dance professor now, one is a ballet director, and so on and so on. And it was a small group that was growing continuously. I think through the 27 years we had maybe 100 authors. And in one time we have like 30 authors contributing regularly to this platform. And the group of authors was growing. So I think in the first years it was mostly Stuttgart, Wuppertal and Munich, and then we had very fast coming authors from Berlin, but we also had one author working very continuously with us who lived in Lüneburg, which is very up in the north, in Schleswig-Holstein, you will not know. And he covered small cities around, and that's how it started.
Seems like being a big net since the very beginning, or
definitely, yes, very big network, and many of them don't live anymore. So yeah.
And just one last question, because I know that you didn't mention it, but I know that you have another project for Bavarian.
Yes.
So if you can say something about that.
Yeah. In German, the German government is very strict in not funding journalism, because they want to keep journalism independent, and also they don't want to destroy the market of other newspapers and media. But there is the willing of support dance and bringing it into the society. And so I have a regional funding for a platform in Bavaria, and that is funded a little bit, so that I can support, I can pay, not support, I can pay articles for dance in Bavaria. And these authors are very eager to also publish these articles then in Tanznet. So I have like a fifth of my authors already paid. That could be a possibility of having regional platforms and bringing the half or part of these articles then into a national platform to reach really a broader audience. And yeah.
Because I must say that this is something which really interested me, because that if you take into consideration that on the national level you don't have funding, but on the regional level you have funding, that's kind of contradictory almost.
It is, but maybe the politicians, who hopefully do not see this now, don't really realize what they're supporting. You know, it's an information platform for Dance in Bavaria. We also have a calendar. We had huge forums in Tanznet and also in that platforms, and we have a market and things like that. So it's not supporting a newspaper, but more an information platform. Let's call it like that.
Okay. Well, we had on our schedule to send it to German politicians, but okay, we won't do that. Okay. No. Sanjoy, can you tell us more? How is it in the UK, please?
The regional coverage of dance, yeah?
Yes, exactly.
So first of all, the UK is 4 countries. England, Scotland, Wales and Northern Ireland. So what is, from a London-centric base, which is where me and John are based, what is called the national press, really it's effectively England and Wales, to be honest. Scotland has its own press, considered to be covering Scotland, and England and Wales are quite coalesced, I would say, compared to Scotland and Northern Ireland. and Northern Ireland has a completely separate status in media terms, and let's not go into that politics. But so within England and Wales, it's highly London-centric. The paper that I have been writing for is The Guardian, which was actually founded as the Manchester Guardian in northwest England, and kept a Manchester edition going for a while. But as with all the other papers, it's now based in London. In terms of regional coverage, they used to have somebody based in Leeds, and they haven't had her for, I don't know, 20 years now. When performances, when there are premieres that are not in London, it used to be more the case that they would send somebody to review or to cover the festival. In those cases, the newspaper would pay for the expenses of the trip, and in addition, so travel, accommodation, a meal, and the publication fee. And clearly, that when budgets are tighter, which they have been, that expense, the editors will think, well, we could just publish another review to keep up our content. This is almost like invisible expenses to the reader. So it does. We still have for larger premieres for some of the ballet companies, or we still do have a London-based critic who sometimes goes and covers something from Leeds or Manchester, but it's not that often.
That's actually my question. How often do you go outside London to review something?
Me personally?
Yes.
Well, I'm not the chief critic, so I'm the backup person. So actually, it's Lindsay, the chief critic, who, since they are only done as the premieres that they consider important, she's almost the only one who goes outside London on these trips. The one time, I have to say that there was 1 year, I think, where the editor, in response to years and years of complaints from festivals that were regional, but they weren't from like Northern Ballet coming to London later. It wasn't Scottish Ballet or Rambert Dance premiering here. It was like, this is a festival for the east of England, and they have this. The editor did send me to, I don't know, about 4 things in 1 year. So I went to specifically to address this, and it never happened again. So, that was the end of that was the end of that.
So it's not really a bright future. Okay. I must say that we also talked about that when the companies have premieres outside of London, the editors normally wait until the company gets to London and then reviews it, right?
Often it's a choice. It slightly depends on how high profile they consider the premiere to be. But especially with dance, which is not the high profile of the arts anyway, when the editor is dealing with a whole range of reviews from film and theatre and so on in one page, it's not going to be dance that gets the priority.
Okay. John, would you like to add up something on that, because you're also from London?
Yeah.
UK.
Hello everyone. Yeah, I'm based in London, but Dancing Times, under my editorship, felt that we should be covering the dance that's going on around the country. So I had quite a few writers based in Liverpool, in the Midlands, in Leeds, up in Edinburgh as well. So I could call on them to review the shows that near to where they lived. The other thing is, I used to go myself a lot of the time, because I mean the UK is quite a small country, so it is possible to get to cities quite quickly. For example, Manchester is about 2 hours away from London, so you could go up for a matinee, for example, and see the matinee and come home in the day. It was always making sure that you had people in the places where you could possibly get a review from. Having said that, most of the concentration of dance is in London. And Sanjoy is right in saying that quite often, if Scottish Ballet, for example, is doing something, they will bring it down to London at some point. It might be a year later, so it's already old news in a way. But I always felt personally that when a show opens, you should review it at that time. If I couldn't find someone to review it for me, or I didn't have the budget for paying them, I would go myself. And I paid for my own train fare, and so I didn't cause a cost for our publication. But I mean, Dancing Times didn't just cover the UK; it was international as well. So I had people based in Munich, in Copenhagen, in Paris, in New York, in Italy. So it was a kind of a very wide approach to things in a way. So, and it wasn't just concerned with reviewing performances either. It was looking at other aspects of dance too.
May I add one other thing, which is actually I had more opportunities to go to the regions and cover things that I could take, because for 20 years I had a day job. So there was nothing to do with dance or culture or anything. It was like the means I lived on. So unless every time I had to go out of London, it would mean taking some time off work. And if I had to then take not only an afternoon, but the next morning off, it would be like, okay, that's a day's work that I'm not getting these projects. And I used to just say, I can't do it mostly.
Yeah, I must say, every time I hear this, I always think that it's so sad that even a dance journalist for The Guardian, a newspaper which is so well known, has to have like a side, not a side job, but actual job.
Main job, yes.
And the side job is the writing, which is kind of sad. I just want to remind everyone that if anyone wants to add on something, ask something, so feel free also. Okay. Also, what came up my mind, that you said that you could travel in one day, like back and forth.
Yeah, you could. I mean, obviously Scotland is a lot more difficult to get to, but for going as far as Wales, or I am Welsh, so I would make sure I went to Wales. But to get to Wales or the Midlands, which is Birmingham, that kind of area. Or Manchester or Liverpool or Leeds, they're quite easy to get to from London by train. But I always felt it was better that if there was somebody living in that area who I could get to write for it, that's better. But I don't have to go myself then, you know.
Sure. Why I just take it up and repeat it is that what we encounter here very often is that we can go there, but we don't have any way back. That it's so late that simply some cities we cannot reach them. We cannot go there and write a review.
Well, that's true. I mean, that's why I said that I would go to a matinee. So you could get back you could go there in a day, watch the show, and then come back in the evening.
Yeah.
So you would try to avoid staying overnight, because there's the additional cost of the accommodation then, and eating and that kind of thing.
Yeah. Maybe Sanjoy, if you can tell us, Nina and John mentioned that they have more of a scheme that they have external writers from the regions. Is it also the case of The Guardian, or do they really send, in case there is a region premiere, do they send out the people?
In dance, there used to be somebody based in Leeds, in the north of England, and for Edinburgh, they used to have somebody who would cover things from Edinburgh, but they don't anymore. No.
So there are no external writers, collaborators?
I don't think so, no.
Okay, thank you. One last question for the three of you. I would like to know, just as an inspiration, was there something you saw in your countries and you said, damn, this is good, we should do it more often? Something we could take to Czech regions, Czech media, we could inspire ourselves.
In terms of journalism?
Yes.
Well, I don't know if this is a good idea or not, because and I haven't really thought it through, because it only occurred to me like about 15 minutes ago. So
go for it.
It's really, so apart from The Guardian, I also am the editor of a European journal called the Springback magazine, where it's actually countries are the regions, not so it's an international one. But their network, of whom we have some members here, their producers network operate a lot by the sharing of videos of performances, so that although they do traveling, but they have a lot of judgment calls and considerations about what's happening with contemporary dance. Is done by video applications and by discussions. Most of these videos are professionally produced, but compared to 10 years ago, the quality is really a lot better than it used to be. And I started thinking, I wonder if, I wonder what that would have in review terms, or announcement terms, or, for example, a couple of times when not when I've been doing a review, but when I've done an interview, I've been sent the video link for the show that's being talked about. I'm not reviewing it, but it's useful for me to understand, have enough of a material basis to engage with the artist. And I just thought, well, actually video links are really easily distributable and shareable. There's a lot more companies that have a private video link that can be shared. Is there a way of utilizing this that's not just for programmers and coordinators, but for media, and what would the implications be? I haven't really thought about what they would be yet, because I'm sure there would be many, but there you go, I'm just thinking that right now.
Thank you. If anything occurs to your mind later, just please come with it. Nina?
I have something, but that did not happen in my country in a sense of passive way, but we made something happen. We founded the German Association for Dance Journalists, really nice and actively working group of dance journalists for the future of dance journalism, for the quality of dance journalism, and also for financing dance journalism. And that is so productive and energizing, because before we started we were all competing journalists or competing editors, let's say. One was in the print magazine, the chief editor, and we were having Tanznetz. Others were having a regional platform with very progressive, with film and a lot of photos. And we all came together and said, we can't go on like this anymore. We have to do something for dance journalism in general, and we have to do it together. And we got 2 times already, we got funding for leading dance journalism into the future, means education in terms of how to do podcasts, how to do your own website and archive your articles, how to do scrollytelling, which means nicely layouted articles that tell a story by text and photos and so on. So that's a positive thing, but also takes a lot of work, and it's not something that happens to us, but we have to make, and that is demanding because the financial and time situation is kind of tight anyways.
Is it specific for dance journalists or for journalists?
No, it's dance journalists. It's like 30 dance journalists in Germany became members, but of course, I think Lucy asked the question to me, of course, you can also be a dance and theater journalist or something like that. But it's people who are mainly interested in dance journalism, and why we use the word, you might not know, but we know already that we said dance journalism is a lot more than dance critique, just reviewing. It's bringing articles about people, important themes, education is an important thing, cultural education and so on. So that's why also big topic in Germany.
Why I'm asking, it's kind of interesting for us, for Czechs, because we were thinking actually about establishing an association for dance journalists, because there is an association for theater critics. Yeah. And we had a meeting in June where it's like the final result of it was that we don't need the associations. We need the meetings of us, like to meet, share, and this kind of things, more than having an official organization behind ourselves.
I think that's enough. Until you want to have some funds, then you need a corpus, an association, somebody to give it to also, But until you're getting to that point, you don't need the official structure, I think, the stamp, But be careful, if there is an association for theater journalists and you want to do lobby work, you have to have a name and go for your interests. So association might not be bad, but it's a lot of work, I have to admit.
I already became a member.
Done. So we have a similar kind of thing in the UK. It's called the Critic Circle, which is a body of writers, journalists, critics, who are invited to join, and they come from different disciplines. So there's dance, there's opera, there's classical music, film, literature, art. They all have their own subsections, and they come together and talk about critical things. There's that kind of community, and they have fairly regular meetings, not that often. They help organise, the dance section helps organise the National Dance Awards in the UK, so that all the critics nominate who they think is the best dance of the year, the best production, the best choreographer, in various different kind of categories. In a way, the Critics Circle helps reward dance in that way. But it's quite an old association. It's been going on quite a long time, and I think there's one in America as well. I don't know. I'm surprised there's not one here actually. But
for dance specifically? No.
No.
Here, yes.
Do you have a Critic Circle as well?
We have an association of journalists and association of theatre critics. If I'm not mistaken. But John, you escaped the question.
Well, I was thinking you were talking about what I would think to bring to the Czech Republic.
Ideally, please.
Yes. So I'm thinking of a show by Gary Clark called Coal, which looks at the coal in through dance and speech and physical theatre. It looks at the coal mining industry in northern England, which I think would be maybe perfect for Ostravan. Oh, sorry, can you hear me? A piece called Coal. which by Gary Clark. He's actually working on a trilogy of works centred around the coal industry during the 1980s, when there was a coal mining strike and the effects of the kind of closing down of that industry. And considering that Ostrava was also a coal mining industry, I think it might be a very good thing to bring here. You know, so it would be quite interesting.
This is a call for Jana.
Yeah.
But
I can put you in touch with him.
But regarding dance journalism.
Dance journalism. Well, I think you just you have to encourage people to write and get encouraged somehow. I don't know. Find you've all been talking this weekend about how difficult it is to actually find people and get them to write. I think you're trying your very best at the moment. I can't think of any other way other than maybe offering a dance writing online competition. I'm sure you've done it. An online competition, write a review for your magazine, and the best one gets published, and maybe you get to see other people who are kind of thinking about writing for dance that way. There's probably no cost to you that way either. You know, but it's difficult. Because you were talking this weekend about how dance students have a kind of module on their courses about writing about dance. And I'm a bit surprised that not more of them want to participate in it more. Because that's something that we have in the UK, and I quite often had people writing to me saying, "Oh, I'd really like to write for dance," but you know, maybe that's just my country. I don't know, but that's what I would maybe recommend. Yeah.
I would maybe comment on that there are not that many students actually studying the dance science,
right.
So maybe it's a bit difficult to get more and more people. Yeah.
How many do you have? How many? What's normal?
That's a good question for our head of the department of dance, Lucy.
Sorry?
How many students?
Now we have like 3 active students.
3.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then like and the PhD level there are 5, 6, I would say. Yeah. But 3 in the bachelor's, no masters.
In Prague.
In Prague.
Yeah.
And that's the only city that we have a dance department at the university level.
Yeah.
That has this choreology or dance studies or.
I mean, Sanjoy was talking earlier the weekend about how theatres like The Place and South as Wales have also run kind of workshops encouraging young people to write dance reviews and then hopefully build up a new group of people who can move into that area. So maybe to get involved with some kind of theatre or modern dance company that way, you know. But it does have to be quality controlled, obviously.
Yeah, I saw that Sanjoy that he wants to comment on something.
It's a little bit off topic.
Tell us.
Okay, so the Critics Circle is the most fame it ever had, is because there was a horror film with Vincent Price, a 1972 horror film called Theatre of Blood, whereby a very bad Shakespearean actor who has received negative reviews from all of the Critics Circle murders them one by one, and each in the manner of a Shakespearean death. Each one he recites a Shakespearean soliloquy, and the Critics Circle is gradually murdered. And it's the biggest profile the Critics Circle has ever had. And it's a fun film. I recommend it.
Is it?
Yes.
It's also been a stage play.
It's been a stage play, it carries on to this day.
I just hope that it won't happen in dance, because since in ballet there are so many deaf people, they're literally dead by the mid of the ballet already.
But
so
in terms of profile raising, people know the Critics Circle from that film and that script. Yeah.
So killing critics.
Yeah, it's about it engages emotionally. It has humor. It has violence. It has revenge. It has all the elements of good theatre.
Okay, let's think about that first. Nina, I saw that you want to react.
Also off topic, but not that much, is that I wanted to say I think that we have very many dance students who do dance studies. Yes, in Germany, in Munich, in Berlin, in Bochum, and in Hildesheim also. And still we don't have young dance journalists, and I think that's a problem of possibilities to publish and be paid. So they all go to become dramaturgs or something else in the dance field. So there is the group of people having the expertise, being completely informed into the current society discourses, very contemporary orientated, but there's very little possibilities of publishing. So
I think that the outcome of the entire weekend is that we are not in such a bad situation in Czech Republic, actually.
Definitely.
which is kind of frightening, because we always thought that we are, but now we see that in other countries it's even worse.
Yeah, we've been amazed that you get government funding. Absolutely amazed, because it just does not happen in the UK.
Yeah, but as we talk, that it's kind of a tradition in those countries that we know that in Bulgaria, Lithuania, they also receive those subsidies. Okay, thank you very much. I will now head to the Czech section. I will keep speaking English, so please translate so everyone understands. I would like to ask first our contributors from Czech Television and Czech Radio how difficult or easy it is to report about dance in such a big media.
Já si myslím, že to musíme rozdělit na 3 části. Jednak, když já referuju o něčem, co se děje tady v kraji a chci, aby se to hrálo v regionálním vysílání. To je podle mě docela jednoduché, dostat tam tu reportáž.
So I think it's important to divide it into 3 parts. The first part is when I want to get to know about something that is produced or performed in the region, and at the same time it's broadcast in the region, in the regional media.
Horší je to dostat do celostátního vysílání. Česká televize má program ČT24, který vysílá celý den. A když tu reportáž odezdám včas, do 15 hodin cca, tak je možné, že ji zahrají třeba i 3krát nebo 4krát. Ten den třeba 2krát, druhý den taky. Ale je to, záleží v podstatě po zkušenosti ne na tom, jestli ta reportáž je zajímavá, ale spíš je to o náhodě. Protože kdybych třeba včera odezdala krásnou reportáž, stejně by nikdo nezahrál, protože včera napadla Palestina, Izrael a podobně.
Okay. Right, no, it's the second case is actually to push the regional coverage into nationwide media, because it's possible that, for example, the Czech Television has a channel which is called Czech Television, which is for 24. And it's possible if you actually submit something by 3 p.m. so they can broadcast it that day several times. But it can be a very interesting news or something, but it also depends like what kind of coverage is broadcast that day. Because for example, yesterday Israel was attacked, so like cultural news were of more importance.
A za třetí, dostat to do událostí, do hlavního vysílacího času. Mám zkušenost, že třeba v jednom roce si události hlavní vzali z Ostravy třeba jenom 3 nebo 4 reportáže za rok. Myslím si, že jsme mnohokrát měli hodně zajímavé věci. A všechno v podstatě ještě se to hraje všechno na událostech kultuře a artu. A tam se berou editoři 90% všeho, co natočíme, jsou velmi rádi, jsou osvícení, mají rádi kulturu, jakoukoliv tanec současný milujou, takže tam je to v pohodě. Ale dostat to událostí do těch hlavních, tam je to velký problém a ta zkušenost opět je, že čím dál jste od Prahy, tak tím je to horší.
Okay, so speaking of prime time news is the biggest problem because the Czech television usually picks some things, like maybe 3 things in a year, throughout the entire year. There are channels, for example, Czech Television Art, which is like more open towards regional formats or regional coverage, news, etc. But the primetime news is really something that is very hard to get into and to achieve.
No a v poslední době vlastně i v tom regionu to není tak jednoduché, protože já jsem dělala 12 let v televizi a teď jsem odešla vlastně před 3 měsíci. Odešla jsem společně s dalšími. V podstatě během půl roku nás odešlo asi 5 až 6 seniorních redaktorů. A myslím si, že jeden z hlavních důvodů je opět špatné financování. Jsme velmi podfinancování, komukoliv řeknu svůj plat, tak nikdo nevěří. Takže vlastně já jsem třeba měla svůj field, jakoby svoje témata. Dělala jsem to s kolegyní, já jsem většinou právě měla ráda současné umění, současný tanec a tak dál. Ona spíše třeba muzeum a tak nějaké jiné věci, historii. A teď, když jsem odešla, tak říkala Jana Ryšlavá, že vlastně po 10 letech se stalo poprvé, že o MOVE festivalu se nereferovalo poprvé, třeba i v tom regionu. Protože ten člověk tam není, chybí. A nikdo to neřeší.
Okay, so the third problem, the third issue actually is underfunding because the furthest you are from Prague, from the capital, the worse is the situation. So, for example, I've been working for the Czech Television for 12 years, and now within 6 months, most senior editors quit because of the financial situation. But sometimes it can happen that there's a person missing who's really interesting, like me, into, for example, contemporary art. So after 10 years, for instance, the MOVE Fest, the festival here, has not been covered by the regional division of Czech Television, just because there is no one who's into it and who's really like fighting for it to be broadcast covered.
I must say it's really frightening, and I see one question from the audience. Please.
Já se tam s proměnutím česky. Já myslím, že pro úplný kontext by bylo možná dobré si říct, jak je to s ČT artem a události v komentářích, protože to je vlastně program, který je i pro spoustu lidí z té artové scény takzvaným večerníčkem, ale vlastně ten prostor je hrozně malý a tanci se tam taky moc jako nevěnujou. Já vůbec netuším, jak se tam vybírají ta témata, ale moc nevím, jak se tam dá nebo nedá dostat, ale moc ráda bych věděla, jaký je tam ten filtr, nebo třeba art zóna, která taky se tam moc nevěnuje.
I can ask Teresa to translate.
Yeah, very long question. So there's a difference, as you said, between události komentáře and ČT, Czech Television Art, because some of the news are maybe filtered a little bit, so there are some criteria that must be followed, and so it's not maybe that easy to push something into Czech Television Art. So what are the differences between these two sections of the television?
Jak jsem řekla, události v kultuře, tak tam jsou skvělí editoři. Osvícení mají opravdu umění rádi a jsou otevření právě současnému umění a současnému tanci. Události komentáře, to je zase jiná kapitola. Události komentáře a události, tam jsou editoři, kteří jsou konzervativní, nemají rádi vlastně umění, které není tradičního charakteru třeba.
So in Czech Television Art, the editors are very open, very enlightened, because they are like willing to cover things that maybe are not that traditional, while události komentáře, which is the other section, are more like traditionalists. They are very not so open, as to say.
Já si pamatuju, že když si vybrali během jednoho roku snad jenom 3 témata od nás, tak to vždycky právě bylo, jak už říkala i Nina, že nový ředitel, jo, nebo že se otevírá nové muzeum, nebo je covid, jakým způsobem to řešíte, finance a tak dál. Ale co se týká toho programu, tak se vybrali tehdy snad jenom jednu reportáž a to bylo, že tady vlastně během shakespearovských slavností byla nějaká americká kampaně a Hamleta hrál Černoch. To je zajímavé.
Okay, so for the události komentáře, the topics that are actually selected, are those that are like some major news, like a director quitting or changing. So another division is called události v kultuře, where the things are offered weekly. Very often it's the offers come from Jana as well, like she lets the Czech Television here in Ostrava know like what's happening here, but they are also but it depends a lot on who I'm in touch with, because there are some editors who are very picky and those who are willing to accept many things. But so that's in terms of události v kultuře. Also, the news on Czech Television art are for a very specific viewership. So sometimes it's just people who are interested in culture that really see it, and nobody else. So it's very like for specific people who are into culture, and so it's not for a very wide public.
I must say again, it is a very frightening situation, to be honest. You were talking about chances, so if we get back down, or if we get down to the numbers, how many dance-related reportages or news were you able to get to the main media time or broadcasting?
Was it za rok?
Per year, yes.
Per year, maybe 8.
From the region?
Yes.
Just 8. I can translate it. Thank you. So just 8 per year from the region.
Okay, dobrý rok. And it's good year.
Okay, thank you. What is the situation in Czech Radio? Is it better?
Yes. Maybe. Budu tedy mluvit česky. Takže Český rozhlas je takovou, řekněme, mladší a chudší sestrou České televize. Začnu tím, že jsme také silně podfinancováni a velmi bedlivě sledujeme celospolečenskou debatu ohledně zvýšení koncesionářských poplatků, protože ty se nezvedly zhruba za posledních 20 let. V Českém rozhlase, v České televizi to přece jenom malinko za tu dobu, ale také máme menší náklady než Česká televize, upřímně řečeno. Nicméně to podfinancování se projevuje především v personální oblasti. Nemůžeme tvořit tolik, kolik bychom chtěli.
Okay. So the Czech Radio might be considered like a poorer and younger sister of the Czech Television, and it's also like heavily underfunded, which of course reflects a lot in the area of finding people and hiring staff, because there are very often not enough people to do the work. So yeah, there are some ongoing discussion that we are following concerning concession fees that haven't been increased in like 20 years, I guess. But yeah, the underfunding is a big issue.
Tím, že máme málo lidí, kteří jsou špatně zaplacení, si nemůžeme troufnout natočit tolik věcí, kolik bychom chtěli. I když jsme přesvědčeni o tom, že témata, která chceme točit, jsou dobrá témata.
So because of as we have like very few people or not enough people, and at the same time the people are not very well paid, we cannot afford to create as many things as we want to, even though the topics that we would like to cover are very interesting and we would really like to do something with them.
Týká se to i laicky řečeno menšinových témat, ke kterým tanec v České republice bezesporu patří.
Okay, it also concerns like some minor topics or let's say marginal topics, and I think dance in the Czech Republic is one.
Musím tady naše zahraniční kolegy ubezpečit, že neznám v České republice jediného novináře, který by se živil taneční publicistikou.
Okay, so I can really tell our international guests that there is not one dance author, dance writer who would really make their living just by writing about dance.
Neužíval by se.
Wouldn't really make their ends meet.
Takže jsou kulturní novináři, kteří se zabývají obecně kulturními tématy, včetně tance.
So we have a culture journalists, who cover a broad spectrum of topics, not just specifically dance, because otherwise it wouldn't be possible for them to make enough money.
Obecně si nemyslím, že je to špatně v případě, že se bavíme o novinářích, kteří pracují pro masová média.
In general, I think it's not a bad thing if we really speak about authors who work for mass media.
Protože publikum těch masových médií není dostatečně vzdělané na to, aby bylo schopné konzumovat odbornou taneční kritiku.
Because as for mass media, the audience is not educated enough to be able to consume, understand some specialized, like coverages or things that are really like highly specific, specialized.
Specializovaní autoři by měli publikovat ve specializovaných médiích. Takové tady ale máme spíše jenom v online formě a je jich pořád málo. Děkuji za přiznání. Takže máme jich málo.
So if journalists want to specialize in some area, really, they could focus on specialized media, and there are very few of them in the Czech Republic. They usually are run online, and yeah, so.
Český rozhlas je obrovská mediální instituce, která má řadu rozhlasových stanic, z nichž některé jsou vyloženě masové a některé jsou, řekněme, lehce odborné, například stanice Vltava.
So yeah, the Czech Radio is a mass media institution. There are many like sub-channels included, and some of them are really like mass media oriented. Some of them are specialized. For example, Czech Radio Vltava.
Já pracuji pro tu masovou část Českého rozhlasu, konkrétně pro regionální vysílání Českého rozhlasu Ostrava, což je teritorium Moravskoslezského kraje.
So I'm working currently for the mass media division of the Czech Radio, specifically for the regional broadcasting Ostrava, and so that's my focus at the moment.
Naší hlavní náplní je reflektovat to, co se děje na území kraje. A to děláme na dvou úrovních, zpravodajské a publicistické.
Okay, so our main focus is to cover what is happening in the region on two levels. One of them is news and one of them is journalism.
Zpravodajská část tvoří hlavně zpravodajské relace, kde jsou krátké zprávy. Je to jednoduché informování a odpovídání na základní otázky, co, kdo, kde, jak a proč. To je jednoduchá práce a dostanou se tam všechna témata, včetně tance.
Okay, as for the news, it's quite, let's say the format is quite simple. It's answering simple questions like what happened, where, why, when, and so on. And it can be easily understood by people, and also like it's much more easily done.
Does dance really get there?
Yep.
Yeah.
Good.
So dance actually also appears on news sometimes.
Publicistika je náročnější formát, vyžaduje větší úsilí personální i finanční a tam už si vybíráme.
Okay, as for the, let's say, journalism part, where like many more formats are covered, we have to be more selective because there are also like many more things coming. Sorry, so we have to be quite picky.
A vybíráme podle 3 základních parametrů. První parametr je...
Okay, now we use like 3 criteria.
První parametr je, jestli máme člověka, který to téma umí alespoň částečně odborně uchopit.
Okay, so the first one is if we actually have someone who is able to handle the topic, to understand it, maybe to also be able to transmit it to the audience.
Druhý parametr, jestli je to zajímavé pro našeho posluchače, protože máme nějakou cílovou skupinu, kterou oslovujeme.
The second one is it interesting for our target audience?
A třetí parametr, nakolik je to důležité v daném okamžiku a v daném kontextu. Protože tak, jak říkala tady kolegyně Lucka Křížková, informace mají různou hodnotu v různém čase.
And the third one, is it really important at that moment and in that situation? Because as has been mentioned, information, the value of a piece of information is changing according to the environment.
You mentioned that you have two parts. One is the news, the second one is journalism itself. I am wondering, you mentioned that it depends also if you have someone who is able to handle the theme. Do you have anyone here handling the dance in the region?
Yeah.
How many people? It's gonna be a lot. Okay, just one. I thought that you were counting. Okay.
One and me.
Okay, like you said that you're offering to the national to the national level, so they can choose. So how many times do they actually choose something from the region?
Ve zpravodajství vždy, když se něco děje.
Mikrofonu.
Ve zpravodajství vždy, když se něco děje.
As for the news, every time something is happening, something may be exciting, important, so they go for it.
V publicistice nejčastěji v podobě interview nebo reportáže. Zhruba 10krát do roka.
Okay, and in the era of journalism, it's usually interviews and some coverages, reports, which is like 10 times a year.
Já jsem tady zmiňovala to laické publikum. Já to považuji za něco hodně důležitého. V okamžiku, kdybychom tomu laickému publiku například nabídli taneční kritiku, tak on to nebude vůbec poslouchat. My mu musíme nabídnout takový formát, který pro něj bude zajímavý a pochopitelný. Proto je to třeba právě to interview s nějakým úspěšným tanečníkem, který tam zmíní ten svůj životní příběh. Třeba.
And as I mentioned, like non-specialized audience, if we offer them a dance critic, they don't really understand. They don't even listen or don't even read it. But so we usually go for something like interviews with personalities, with like some important people from the field, and it's like much more attractive for people who are not experts, let's say.
I must say that Český rozhlas Ostrava is offering also interviews with dance critics or dance journalists. I must also admit that I was one of them until when I offered last time. They told me that have budget cuts, so they will not be offering anymore the reviews from dancing. So that happened like 6 months ago. I don't know if Lucy, who was with me there.
It was the same, but I thought it was more personal. So now I see.
So Lucy has the same case, but I still know that our colleagues from theater are still there. So I don't know which genres got cut, but dance definitely.
Ještě bych měla dodatek právě k tomu. A já vlastně vidím cestu k tomu, jak dostat tanec do těch masových médií i díky, řekněme, lehkému marketingu lidí z oblasti tance, kteří mohou těm editorům v těch médiích ukázat. Podívejte se, tohle je zajímavý člověk, toto je zajímavé téma, tady by se to dalo uchopit za tento příběh nebo tento aspekt tohoto příběhu. Tudy vede cesta. Příběh. Story.
Okay, so one of the strategies that could be used in order to push maybe some regional news into mass media, be it dance or other domains, is to cooperate with people from marketing, because they can really highlight interesting stories and storylines that, you know, just catch people's eye, and it's much easier to really work with stories and yeah.
Já tady mám jenom, já jsem si s dovolením připravila, protože taky učím ve škole, tak jsem zvyklá si dělat přípravy. A mě tady zaujala jedna věc. Já jsem si našla jedno interview, které vyšlo právě tady. Interview Jana Bartoše s posledním šéfredaktorem Dancing Times, Jonathanem Grayem.
Sorry. I'm also a teacher, so I'm used to make lesson plans. So I've made a preparation, and I found an interview with Josef Bartoš, is it? Yes.
With Jonathan Gray.
Josef Bartoš interviewing Jonathan Gray.
Já mám pocit, že to nebylo možná s Jonathanem Grayem.
Maybe it was
Nina. I'm sorry. To bylo s Ninou.
Nina.
A Nina tady tuším, že odpovídala v rozhovoru, co nechce číst. A já to teď nemůžu najít, ale z hlavy si to vybavuju. Že tam bylo, že si nechce číst o tom, že si chce číst o tom, co tanečníci ten den předvedli, ale nechce číst, co měli v tašce.
To bylo
že to tak nějak bylo. S Jonathanem, tak.
Oh, yeah. Just trying to figure out what was in the interview. So, in the interview with Jonathan, actually, there was a question like, what kind of things are you interested in reading? And one of the things that Jonathan found really interesting was a dancer's performance on a specific day, but not what they have in their bag or just their belongings, whatever.
Maybe I will just concretize this a bit more, because we were talking about an American dance magazine, which shifted much more to the, let's say, marketing, social tendency.
Tak. S váma souhlasím. Důležité je najít tu správnou míru, abychom nesklouzli k bulváru a nečetli si o tom, co mají ti tanečníci v těch taškách, nebo že se někde pobil kritik s autorem. Současně ale nezabřednout i do té vysoké odbornosti, která patří jenom vám, úzké komunitě, a najít tu atraktivní rovinu. To je podle mě, my v Česku říkáme jádro pudla, jsem zvědavá, jak to přeložíte.
I'm going to get around it a little bit. I agree with Jonathan. It's important to find a balance between, like, let's say, tabloid-like news, that's like what dancers carry in their bags and what they eat in a day, whatever, and also the highly specialized content. So we should really navigate the situation to be somewhere in the middle and be interested in what's at the heart of the kind of the dog.
Možná teda jenom zopakuju česky, protože Jonathan mě poprosil, že tam právě šlo o to, že jsme se bavili o specifickém časopisu pro tanec. Nikoliv o časopisu, který by se všeobecně zabýval, nevím, třeba kulturní rubrikou, ale pouze skutečně jako taneční magazín.
Já jsem pro odborné magazíny, myslím si, že jejich budoucnost je hlavně na internetu, že jsou neufinancovatelné v té tištěné formě a my tady hledáme jakoby cestu, jak ten tanec dostat právě tam, kde je to lidské publikum.
Okay, so as for the interview, actually Jonathan and Josef were talking about specialized dance media, but it's important to, the specialized dance media are very effective online. It's not often possible to have printed issues because there's not enough funds. But yeah, there must be a way, or we have to search for a way how to make dance available to wide audience and also people who are not really experts in dance. But yeah, to find places where there are like very wide viewerships and readerships.
Thank you very much. I will maybe just add up one more comment which came up to me right now, because we have a certain collaboration also with Czech Television website called Adzona, and it all started as they approached one of our colleagues and asked for dance-related content. We said yes, that we will collaborate on it, providing authors and everyone, but it's us handling it under their name. But the whole situation is that we do not have anything like from it, and it's up on us. If we have authors, if we make it happen, that dance will be commissioned or dance will be in that website. If we don't do that, it's not there.
So you do the work.
We do the work for them, yes. And they give us the credibility, yes, it's also true. But I just wanted to say how tricky it is, because once we do not have authors or we do not have time, it's simply not there. Yeah. And now I would like to turn to our last guest. I'm very sorry for waiting so long. Ostravan, your magazine is a bit unique in between all of those, because it's the only one which is dedicated to regional scene, regional production. I would like to know what is the amount of dance content you cover in your magazine?
Tak dobrý den všem. Já bych možná jenom na úvod trošku popsal svoji roli nebo pozici v této diskuzi, protože na rozdíl od kolegů jsem vlastně vydavatelem webových stránek online magazínu Ostravan.cz, který pokrývá veškeré kulturní umělecké dění v ostravském regionu, který čítá asi 1 milion obyvatel. A co se týče prostoru, který dáváme soudobému tanci nebo obecně tanci, baletu, tak je asi z mého pohledu adekvátní tomu dění, vlastně dění. Samozřejmě přinášíme recenze všech baletních inscenací, které vzniknou pro Národní divadlo Moravskoslezské, tak každoročně reflektujeme i MOVE Fest, jak závěrečným reportem, tak i rozhovorem s pořadatelkou, takže je možná otázka i na ně, zda ten prostor je adekvátní, nebo zda by uvítali, aby ta reflexe byla širší.
I'm sorry, I will ask Teresa to translate now.
So first of all, I would like to specify my role here in this discussion because I'm the editor-in-chief of the Ostravan journal, which is fully online, and we cover everything that happens concerning culture in the region. So I think the space that we grant to dance is quite adequate. Like compared to the rest of the content that we also publish, and we cover all ballet premieres and also contemporary dance events, MOVE Fest, of course. So maybe it would be a question for Jana Ryšlava if it's actually enough what we do.
Jinak u nás to funguje tak, že na každý umělecký obor máme specialistu, což je výhoda oproti těm mainstreamovým velkým médiím, které spíše zaměstnávají lidi, pro které je to hlavní obživa, takže není asi reálné. U nás na regionální úrovni to je absolutně nemyslitelné, abychom zaměstnávali člověka pouze na taneční publicistiku, jo, ale vlastně všichni naši spolupracovníci, kterých je asi 15, tak vlastně jsou placeni formou honorářů a tím pádem si vlastně ta úroveň odborná je zajištěná asi lépe, než kdyby vlastně zaměstnávali redaktory, kteří dělají všechno.
Okay, so one of the biggest advantages in our journal is that we have a person for each domain, even though we are not really able to hire people for full-time positions, because it's just not possible in the region. But it's much better than actually to have one person for all the domains. So there's always someone who actually understands the area of culture, and so we operate like this.
Možná bych ještě zmínil, že kromě toho, že jsem provozovatelem webu Ostravan, tak zároveň pracuji i pro velký tištěný deník Právo, což je, pokud nepočítáme bulvární média, tak jde o druhé nebo třetí nejčtenější médium v Česku. A tam mám zkušenost, že kulturní rubrika spíše preferuje témata z popkultury, jako je populární hudba, film a podobně, ale vlastně obecně vlastně taková ty artovější žánry jsou spíše na okraji zájmu vydavatele. Takže otázka je, zda se s tím něco dá dělat. V tomhle je podle mě měly roli veřejnoprávní média, jako Česká televize, Česká rozhlas, která jsou placena z koncesionářských prostředků od komerčních médií. Vlastně asi nelze očekávat odbornou reflexi tak menšinových žánrů, jako je soudobý tanec nebo vlastně soudobé výtvarné umění a podobně.
Okay, so apart from running a website, Ostravan, I also have experience from a big medium, which is called Právo, and the areas that are covered by this big medium are more like pop cultural, and it's also like what is more specialized is rather marginal for this really mass media. So it's good in the region that we can really focus on some like small projects which very often don't appear on like all national projects.
Jana, you received a question. Is it enough?
We are very glad that Ostravan do exist. And of course, we would have much more content we present, but still it's really great that here is some possibility to present, and also that it's really focused on the culture.
Yeah, maybe just for the record that they are happy and they would have more content. But still, I would like to get down to the numbers, and I would like to know really how much dance your content is. For example, like how many articles per month do you have?
Snažím se to spočítat. Tak v každém případě jsou to recenze divadelních představení Národního divadla Moravskoslezského, což jsou 2 ročně. Dále je to MOVE Fest a průběžně ale zveřejňujeme rozhovory s tanečními umělci. Ono je to možná 10, možná 15 článků ročně, což ale jako zdůrazňuji, že se nespecializujeme pouze na divadlo, vlastně reflektujeme hudbu, výtvarné umění, literaturu, náš záběr jako docela široký, takže je otázka, zda je to nebo není adekvátní ten prostor, je to na diskuzi.
Okay, so what we cover always is like big premieres at the National Moravian Salvation Theatre here in Ostrava, and also MOVE Fest, so like big events. And throughout the year we publish interviews with artists, with dancers. So yeah, like the biggest part of the dance content is really like the premieres and performances in the big theatre here. So it could be like 10 to 15 articles per year. It depends. Sometimes it's more, sometimes it's less. But yeah, again, my question is it really enough? Is it because the important point is that we don't only cover like theater, but also music, also literature. So it's just like a small part of the overall content.
Ještě na závěr bych rád poděkoval Teresce Cigánkové za skvělé tlumočení, ale i za výbornou celoroční spolupráci.
So I'm a multifunctional person because I'm the one who actually covers all the events here. So kudos to myself.
I mean, this was slightly with better future because we went up with the numbers from 6 to 8 per year to 15 per month, which is kind of good. Or was it per year or per month?
Yeah, it's 15
per year.
Per year.
Okay, so it has a tendency to go up, so that's at least good. Okay, thank you very much. I would like to now do a bit connection with the topic of the festival, which is care and cultivation. And I will place the question, and please, if anyone comes up with an idea, it would be good. And since the question might be something like, how shall we care more about media, authors, artists, or audience, or readership? And in Jana words, which I talked about this debate and discussion, she told, quoting, "What the national media would need from us to make this a sexy topic?" Please to the mic. Horror films, you already heard that. As I said, let's think about it still. Okay.
Já to možná trochu otočím, že to nemusí být sexy, ale dobrý timing musí být. Česká televize teď v posledních 2 letech, nevím, jestli jsou to 2 roky, jo, dělá taky formát, jmenuje se to Živá čtená. A to je vlastně během vysílání. Vždycky vysílá se od 7. A pokud vy budete pořádat své akce mezi 7. a 8. ano, tak je velká šance se dostat do tohoto formátu 19 až 20. Živá čtená. Takže když já kdykoliv nabídnu živou čtenou, protože se zrovna koná premiéra třeba muzikálu nebo premiéra nějakého představení a je to opravdu se to vysílá, nebo je na filharmonii má koncert, mezi to 19:30, 19:20 až 19:50 možné to odehrát, tak z 90% si tu beru. Takže moje rada je, teďka se vám, konali jste něco mezi 19. a 20.
Samozřejmě.
Tento týden?
Ano.
Tak to je smůla. Protože tam je, kdyby se možná navedla Heleně, tak si myslím, že...
Ale slyším ten formát vlastně prvně.
No, je to jenom 20 sekund sice. Je to v přímém, ale je to vlastně přímý vstup. Ten kameraman tam čeká celou dobu vlastně od začátku představení a když je třeba udeří ta správná minuta, moderátor vlastně je ve studiu a říká, právě teď sledujete na MOVE Festu představení, které má premiéru, účastní se toho tihleti tanečníci a tak dále, festival se koná v Ostravě už po 10. blablabla. Tak to myslím stačí. Takže mezi 19. a 20. a doufejte, že se ten den nic vážného ještě nestane, protože v událostech v komentářích je velký problém, když třeba někdo zemře ten den. Jo? Potom se do událostí komentářů nedostanete. Teď myslím, události v kultuře. Těch 20 minut, jo? Tak tam se třeba něco naplánujeme a pak se stane, že opravdu zemře nějaký herec. No, a je to vlastně celých 10-15 minut o tom a už se to nedostane vůbec nikdo. Takže správný timing.
Yeah. So my tip is the right timing. It's more important actually try to make the topic more sexy or more attractive. The Czech Television has established a format that is called live reading. So between 7 and 8 p.m. We are able to cover something that is happening right now. There is a person in the studio that can really cut to something, a concert, a performance. So, yeah, if something happens to take place between 7 and 8 p.m., there's a great chance to really get it covered. Yeah, but sometimes if it clashes with the death of someone, it can be quite difficult.
Okay, thank you.
Kolegyně tady říkala 30 sekund, ale podle všech posledních průzkumů udržíte 100% pozornost posluchače diváka 20 sekund, takže je to hodně dlouhý čas.
Okay, I think the time that is actually given to that event is like around 30 seconds. But most viewers are just able to focus for like 20 seconds, so it's long enough.
Tak a ten můj námět, jak učinit nějaké téma sexy, tak už jsem říkala, že když je za tím tématem příběh, je to fajn, ale vidím tady prostor i v tom, co vlastně už třeba i tenhle festival dělá, a nedělá to jenom tento festival, začali to dělat i jiné festivaly nebo organizátoři jiných festivalů. A tím je vyjít do ulic. V okamžiku, kdy se část toho programu odehrává v ulicích pro běžného občana, tak možná z těch 100-200 lidí, kteří na to přijdou, nakonec bude 10-20, kteří už příští rok přijdou na tu uzavřenou část, ale hlavně budou po nás, po médiích chtít a potom informujeme více. Je to běh na dlouhou trať, ale určitě se vyplatí.
So, my tip is not only to tell stories, to really have a story behind a news always or a coverage, whatever, but also to just go outside, go to the streets and connect with people in that way, because this is really making culture art available to ordinary people. And out of 100, 200 of those who watch it somewhere outdoors, maybe 10 or 20 will come next year to the theater. And also, these people will ask the media to cover this, specific part of culture more. So it's really interconnected, and I think in the long run, it can pay off.
Are there really people who write you that it would be good to cover something? Are there really people like that?
Když budu vycházet z toho, že nám píšou hlavně nespokojení lidé a někdy ne ti spokojení, tak ano.
Okay, so if I base my reply on the fact that we get messages usually from people who are not satisfied. So yeah, we do really have some reactions, but yeah.
Okay, let's do a survey. Whoever wrote to a media to report about something. So only 3 people are really unsatisfied with the situation. So we need to be more dissatisfied then. Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Anyone else? How to make the dance more sexy?
This is not to do with horror films. But it is another idea I just had like 5 minutes ago.
Perfect.
So this morning I was talking in the podcast for the MOVE Cast, and she asked me about this series that I did called Planet Dance. And it's an animation series online, and it's still available. And the way that series came about was that an education department wanted to say, lots of people find contemporary dance really weird and feel like they're not going to understand it, and how can we communicate, how can we engage them and communicate and let them know. And I said, well, I wonder if the problem is that we keep trying to explain it to them, and then they just feel like school kids who are lacking in knowledge, and this is actually the problem in the first place. So how about, instead of trying to teach them about us, make it okay that they feel like external and they're not going to understand this, and go, you know what, that's okay. So we had this concept whereby there was this planet called dance, and then Earth people could come and visit it, and they would naturally find it a bit weird because it was a different planet from where they were. But it wasn't that they had to learn about dance, it was they could have a little visitor's guide to this place. And everything was about making the outside, somebody who feels alien to this world, is going, actually, you know what, that feeling is okay, because you're not of this world, you're in this world. And it did really, really well, and it was done in 2014, and it's still being used a lot today by various people, especially in schools. So, my idea was, can that be turned into reality TV instead of animation, and have something more like real people instead of a fictional world?
Like that we would close dancers in some space.
Not necessarily, but you would. It's definitely your point of identification would be an outsider to the dance world, and you're not accompanying. You're not listening to some expert talking about what you're supposed to learn, because I know that just feels like you're being talked down to, and it actually plays into the insecurities that you might already have. But if the point of identification is some, like I think somebody here mentioned, go out on the street, and reality TV is all about identification with the non-celebrity, the non-expert. And I'm just improvising here, okay? But reality TV, Planet Dance, the outsider's perspective, not the insider, sort of you want to shine a light for people who are interested, but you don't want to teach them, because that's just like you're at school and it's a turn off. It's not sexy.
And we need the sexiness. I must say that I don't like reality TV, but I know that there are a lot of people who love it, so
yes,
that's the point.
That's the point.
I know. Nina?
Maybe just some very short sentences to confirm what you just said and what you said. As contemporary dance often comes in a very sophisticated way, where you have to be aware of all the current discourses and the different dance styles and everything. It's in itself often an exclusive dance form, and we have to make it accessible, and we have to find new ways of journalism, whether it's reality TV, or it's dance comics, or it's films, podcasts, interviews. We have to take the next step. As the dance form is developing, we also have to develop dance journalism into future formats that come easy.
I did a series for The Guardian, which was profiles of companies and choreographers, which was kind of an educational project. It was certainly educational for me, because I had to find out 1 week in advance everything I needed to pretend that I knew all along. But one thing that I learned there was we had very short little sections, and some of them were deliberately irreverent. It was like, if you want to be, don't say this, do say that. If you don't want to feel like a stupid person, don't say this about this company. And we also had, I had information in short, condensed formats, giving history and profile of the company. But the one section that everyone commented on and were looking forward to was a section I called Fact. And the fact was some total piece of trivia, irrelevant stuff that was like backstage kind of irrelevant curiosity, nothing like, did you know that in the Mariinsky Ballet, did you know that the Mariinsky Ballet had a retirement party for their donkey? I had to find one fact about, and it took me so long. But it was the one thing that people kept going, we didn't read this, and what's the fact? Yeah.
I must say this is something very similar what we did on Instagram, actually, on our Instagram. And that was the idea of Teresa.
I'm proud of that.
That's exactly what you just said, that she's doing on our Instagram.
Does it work?
Yeah, I think it works because it gets many more likes than, for instance, like, let's say, serious history information. But I really need to dig into the topic to find a fun fact, and it's very hard.
It's really hard.
And it's very short in the end, but it's very hard to find. But yeah, it works. It's and it's also something that people very easily understand and remember. So, good idea.
I feel like that we are talking a lot about availability and comprehensible dance. Like, even it was mentioned by you two, that like to be able to bring the dance closer to the general public is much more important, that it is comprehensible, that people may actually understand what we are talking about. So, and maybe this kind of what just Sanjoy offered, that this kind of like way how to get closer to them, maybe it might work well.
I mean, it's just it's a hook. It's not the whole thing, but it's a little bait to see.
Yeah, that's actually how we use it on Instagram. The hook to get more followers. So, and we hope that if they like have this hook, they will follow more stories there. So that's behind it. That's the idea behind. Any more ideas?
Well, the only thing that's really been occurring to me is to get some mega Instagram influencer as a patron for the festival and get them to blog away or post away or whatever, or to get some local TV celebrity or radio celebrity to get behind it and promote it in that way. I don't know if you do that already, maybe, yeah.
We don't do that, but I have never seen it. But Jana, maybe you might think about inviting Misty Copeland next time.
I'm sorry, I missed the...
Misty Copeland, that you should invite her next time so she can blog about what's happening here.
I'm not sure if the regional...
I think we see somebody they all know in the local, like a local mega celebrity.
It's like maybe interesting. Does like we are mostly Czechs here? Does anyone come to your mind? Who could that be? That person?
Poluni, Serge Poluni.
No.
I mean, if you're okay with his political stances, then okay. But let's see.
It was a joke, but he's an extremely controversial person that just came into my mind when I was thinking about ex-ballet directors provoking scandal and... yeah.
Well, then Benjamin Milke, maybe. Let's hear it.
I don't have a name, but I was thinking about the participation of the public. So I think you can do it, just get your high school conservatory students to do this Instagram blogging about viewing the MOVE Fest by your eyes and just posting it to Instagram, because then it will get to the community. So maybe it doesn't need to be an influencer, but if it is one of the students who they all know, it can also get some likes.
I mean, that's an influencer within that group, so that might work. You just need to find those students. Yeah, so Jana, that's for you for the next time. We used to have, or we do have, ambassadors for different demographics who are spreading the word about the show or the festival and delivering to their group so they can translate that to the language of the group. Can I ask who are those ambassadors? We do have someone at the dance conservatory, then also someone who is studying at the university can spread the word. Yeah. Are you paying them? No. So they are. Of course. So they are deliberately interested in dance. They are paid by culture. Okay. As we all are. Okay, so influencers. Thank you.
Just to add to that story, that I went to a premiere at Covent Garden a year or two ago, and in the press drinks at the interval, I was looking around saying, who are all these people? I've never seen them before in my life. And they were all Instagram influencers that they'd invited, so they would Instagram about this premiere they'd been to the night before, and that they will get their audience to come to the Royal Ballet. I don't know if it worked, I don't suppose it did, but you know, it's that kind of thing is happening in the UK, so I don't know if it'd work here.
I came to the name like Kovi, who could be, who is informing, and yeah. He's informing, giving the label that it's good and interesting, but he's not actually pushing to any side. So Kovi is our target for next year. It just came up my mind. Do you think that it could be any dance journalist becoming a influencer? I don't know. Maybe yes.
You can.
Anyone else? Nina, I see you taking the mic.
We're coming back to a topic I sometimes already talked about in the last days, that I think journalists are often afraid of losing their reputation and expertise. This kind of coolness that influencers have, or controversial persons, could kind of damage their reputation, expertise and professionalism. That's why I don't think that older or middle-aged journalists would do that. Maybe a next generation that grows up with this kind of positive boulevard way of talking about culture could do that, but I don't have any journalists I could think about really going for it, because it's a different profession. It belongs more to marketing than to journalism. So it's different people, so I don't think it can be dance journalists in my field.
Yeah, definitely, that was just an idea. Maybe I would say you work in the marketing firm. Do you think that it's even possible? If you think, Lucia, because you are working in marketing firm, if that would be even possible, like the dance journalist would become an influencer, that you would use someone like that to influence people.
Asi jako jo, jako marketing. Určitě je to možné, všechno je možné. Marketingu. Já jsem přemýšlela ještě nad něčím totiž dalším. Chtěla jsem říct, že jsem v minulém roce viděla představení třeba právě na konzervatoři, které mě třeba zaujalo tím, že bylo celé improvizované v tom, že se 5 lidí sešlo těsně před představením a teprve těsně před tím představením se řeklo téma. Každý z nich byl jinak zkušený, jeden byl student, druhá byla učitelka, třetí byl někdo opravdu velmi zkušený a vlastně se naladili, vybrali si oblečení v tu chvíli a ještě tam, myslím, byly i děti a dokonce tam byl i hudebník, který vlastně improvizoval přesně do té jejich nálady. A řekli si, OK, dneska je téma radost. A on vlastně tancoval do jejich rytmu, do toho jejich pohybu a bylo to neskutečně zajímavé. Zajímavé jsou taky třeba site-specific projekty, že se konají někde třeba v obchodním domě starém, což tady dělala právě Jana v Ostravici textilie. A zajímavé třeba pro mě bylo vidět Ohada Naharina, izraelského tanečníka. A ještě jsem k tomu chtěla říct, že vlastně co se týká zpravodajství, tak my nejsme ti, co děláme odborné reviews, odborné kritiky, ale my jsme ti, kteří se snažíme právě přenést tu atmosféru z toho místa a těch 20 sekund právě stačí na to, aby se ukázali tu atmosféru a to, že to za to stojí a nalákali toho diváka.
Okay, so answering the first question concerning influencers, of course, in marketing everything's possible, so we could maybe connect with someone who's an influencer actually, or maybe a big star. But I have seen some very interesting pieces here in Ostrava. For instance, like a fully improvised piece at the conservatory here, and it was just a bunch of people who got together 5 minutes before the performance and just shared a topic and just kind of vibe together. And there was also a musicians who accompanied them live and children. So it was a very refreshing, inspiring piece. Also there are like performances taking place in old buildings, like this Ostravica former department store. The last one I think I forgot, but yeah, sorry. Or the premiere of Ohad Naharin's Hora in the National Theatre in Ostrava. So yeah, but what's crucial in our news division is that we only have like 20 seconds, so we don't really offer expert reviews. We rather want to transmit the atmosphere, the vibes of the place, of the event, and that's our main task.
Máme 2 minuty, ne 20 sekund, ale o čem jsem mluvila předtím, tak to bylo těch 20 sekund, takže i těch 20 sekund může stačit.
So it's longer, it's 2 minutes, I'm sorry, but it can be still enough to cover an event or a performance.
Okay, thank you. That was enough to the sexiness of dance. If anyone wants to add something that came up his or her mind, please speak up now. This is the last chance. Maybe. And if not, I will just then thank you for being here, for sharing with us your thoughts, and I hope that we will meet soon, somewhere again, and we will just promote the dance journalism. So thank you.